you driving?
Just away so that there was no, waves,
Well,
audio waves, whatever.
Megan,
She don't want to
Megan.
make faces at her.
So, Megan, you got in this at an early age, like your mom and dad, I guess they coon hunted as well. So this is something about you that I do not know, and I would love to know more about your past and your family's history in the sport. If you don't mind, please let me know about that.
So they were more kind of local. Um, and I mean, my dad did hunt a dog, and he won in the top 20 of the Autumn Oaks, and he also won the 96 NKC World Hunt. And it's crazy because the dog he hunted with was one that was actually a dog that was for sale, and I guess it wasn't taken care of, but it was like drinking water out of like a anyway, my mom was with him, and my mom actually said, "You're buying her. I don't care what she is, you're buying her." But that's the dog he actually won the NKC World Hunt with her, which is no longer a thing. But it's crazy. She was actually a grandpup to Beaver Lake Magic. She was a really good dog. But yeah, that's all they did. They showed their hunting dogs, but they had to hunt first.
Yeah, that's kind of how I started. I started when I was 13 in the game, and my dad always hunted and raccoon hunted. Mom did too, and I started dad's hunting dogs, and we I had to hunt first, and then we showed them. That's
Yep.
how I was brought up in it. And Danny, I noticed with you, you like a dual purpose hound. You like a dog that's put together, looks good. Uh, they seem to always be a daggone coon dog if you have your hands on them. What is the meaning behind the conformation and putting that coon dog together?
Well, I mean, obviously, conformation just means they're going to hold up longer. If they're built right, you can hunt them all night. That's basically what that boils down to. And like I've said many times too, I mean, conformation is one thing, but heart's everything. The dog that just won't quit you. That's the kind that win.
Yeah.
You know,
Hey, do you like a dog with a lot of mouth? Do you like a dog with what kind of dog do you like, Danny?
I like one that trees raccoons. I'm not picky.
My guy. I like that kind of I tell you, that's perfect. My dad always said, he said, I just like a dog to put one in a tree and be accurate.
Mm-hmm.
He said, if they're accurate, they're hard to beat.
Yep. Yep. That's the name of the game, treeing a coon.
Train a raccoon as many as we can. Now, Danny, what is when you start a pup? If you're going to give anyone out there some advice, when you get a pup, at what age do you typically start your pups?
Nah, I don't know. I got one treeing right now that's, what is he, like not even 9 or 10 weeks old. I don't know what he is. I picked him up at Winter Classic. I don't even think he was. I think he was just maybe 7 weeks old when I got him. Usually at 4 months old, I start just doing what I call them. I call them baby steps. I get a puppy. By the time I take it to the woods, it's got a better idea what it's supposed to do. Um, we do everything from, I got a 25 by 50 puppy pen I raise them in, that's sections fenced off where their food, water, housing is, and the rest is play area that I actually do a little bit of training in when they're babies. And they learn to jump a fence, because out here, if you can't jump a fence, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Every pup's different though. I kind of watch them, and I can usually tell. I've just been around enough pups. I can look at a pup every day and just his actions and say, I bet I can get him to tree today. And I've done it a lot. So
Yeah.
it just varies on the age though. But I'd say I usually start them around just the baby steps, about 4 months old.
At 4 months old, what are you doing with them?
So that same 25 by 50 pin, they grow up in it. They're completely comfortable in it. There's no strange smells. Whatever I introduce to them is what they're going to be focused on. And it usually is a small piece of coon hide on a fishing pole. And I'm on the outside of the pen. They're on the inside. I'm teasing them through the fence. I run around it, get them chasing it. And if they're fired up, I'll flip it inside with them, and I'll run it up one of them trees in there. And that's usually how I get them treeing. And then one day, and I don't do that a lot, just enough to get them treeing. And it's kind of it's one of them things, once you do it, that pup may have been well behaved in that puppy pen all his life, but once you get them treed in there, now they're barking, but when you don't want them to be. But anyway, one day I'll come out with a same routine, only this time I got a little bigger piece of hide. It's fresh. I usually try to always use fresh. I want the scent there, whether they're using visual, to go after it, or I want them to smell it too. And the real natural ones, I'll come out there and I'll drop that hide and tease them with it, and I'll just take off around the house with it, dragging it, and I'll rub it up a tree, and I'll rub it really good all the way around the tree as high as I can. I want it easy, and I'll usually the first couple times I leave it where they can see it. And I've had some pups that just go naturally just drive a track around through there and tree it, and then the next time I do it, I'm going to be up. The hide's not going to be up there. I've went as far as long as it's wintertime, having the hide in a plastic bag in my coat, and then after they're been treeing good, I'll throw it up there and let them catch it on its way down, And then it goes from that to just maybe a couple of them. None of this stuff I do over and over again. I mean, you can create bad habits. It's just baby steps that I take that, when you take them hunting at night, and they say, I always start them with an older dog until they do something, whether they tree a coon in front of the old dog or split tree or something. Then I just hunt them by themselves. But they kind of little commands you give them and stuff. They kind of know that when you're in the woods at night and you can get them to do it, then they understand this is what he wants, and you got to be careful with it, because a lot of times you can make them tree happy. And it's just kind of a slow process that's not really like an everyday thing. Everyday thing would be hauling them in the truck or putting them in the side by side or tying them out or leading them. The running and treeing part is like this little dude. I've worked him twice. The second time I didn't do it in the puppy pen either. I did it outside, and I really didn't know if he'd tree, but I thought maybe, and he did the first time. The second time he actually did better, and I took this coon hide on my fishing pole, and it's not like 10-pound test, and I got like a 50-pound test type catfish, and it's not on a reel. It's just where I can whip it around and stuff, and I just kind of just whipping it all around the ground, just leaving a bunch of scent everywhere, and then I put it over in a tree. And I just wanted to see if when he caught it with his nose, if he'd try it. I mean, I didn't make no track really. I just put scent on the ground to see if he would start working, and he did. And he did. He went over there and he started treeing. Made it real easy. Just, I don't know. There's something cool about seeing a little bitty puppy treed,
Oh, it's
And
awesome.
it'll be a while before I do anything else with them. It'll just be the other stuff like I talked about, hauling them, maybe go for walks in the woods, stuff like that. But, and he's, there haven't been too many that I've messed with at his age. Usually I wait till about 4 months old. He ain't even been off his mama that dang long. So
Now, Megan, with show dogs, what do you do?
So I do kind of the same thing with gauging them. But I normally use like a slick surface, and I will kind of scrape their, like, maybe, I know this is crazy because like growing up, like I said, I had to figure just things out. So but normally I'll use like a slick surface. Right now I have like a table. I don't know, it's kind of like the same thing as like my tub, but like
it's a
I
stainless
also
steel
have,
fish skinning
huh?
table. That's a fish skinning
Okay,
table.
okay. So that well, we used it for deer. That, and I also have just a water trough for like horses, and I have that flipped over, and that's what I used to always use. And people are probably like, what is she doing? And also I'll use stools. So I understand a lot of people use
The steps, like a training bench.
yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be real honest with you. I like using the stools better and the slick surface better, because when you're put your hand, when your front hand and your back hand between their legs, and you kind of rock them right on top of that slick surface where their toes are kind of like right on that slick surface, you teach them at a young age, like when they're standing up there, they're gonna hold. They're gonna be like, okay, understand. And if you keep doing that and you get on a routine, as soon as you get them off of there, you praise them and it's an exciting thing to do, they get it. They're like,
Right.
oh, this is exciting. And then the stools, like, depending upon each dog, like I said, every puppy is different. Um, I'll put like their front feet on the front stool and the back feet on the back stool. But the difference between the training little bench and the stools is, if they start moving, say their back feet, I'll kind of knee that back, the back stool, and then they'll lock in. Or if they're moving their front feet, I'll knee that front stool and they'll lock in. And that actually tenses their tail and their head too. But again, depending upon the age, I normally try to start pretty young, and they do really good. Like I said, praising is huge.
Yes.
But I always tell people, and people have sent me dogs to work, and I always tell them, you can't praise on the bench. You have to take them off the bench and overpraise. So that's why I always say it's like the bipolar thing. It's like real quiet, tense on the bench and on the stools and whatever. And then off the bench is like overly excited, like we did an amazing thing. And the more you do that, the more that they start to enjoy it and are like, oh, this is fun, like this is what I'm supposed to do, this is fun. So
Like I
that's
tell
what I
everybody,
do.
Megan, I tell everybody, when you're on that bench, you got a job to do.
Yes.
That's your job.
Yes.
I'll get you off that bench. We can have a blast.
Right.
There was a
Right.
comment made when we won the Winter Classic. Miss Amber Carroll picked us for overall, and I couldn't believe it. I was freaking out, and I cut my dog loose. And when I cut my dog loose, she run to mama because she was so excited, and everybody was laughing about that. But what folks don't understand is, like you just said, that was imprinted to do that. She
Yeah.
knows in that moment she done what was correct and what was right, and she knew she gave me her all. And she knew when I
Yeah.
released her, oh, it was happy time. She runs
Yeah.
straight to mama,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
imprinting is exactly what you're doing, and Danny is doing the same identical thing. It's interesting that Danny's brought up the fishing pole. I have a video when Cheddar, which is my pride and joy, when he was a baby, I started him with only a hide with a fishing pole. About once every 2, 3 days, I'd take that hide, him and Fancy, and I'd run outside and play with that fishing pole, make them chase it, but I'd never let them have it. And they started losing their minds. And so I stopped using a live raccoon about 3 years ago. I stopped using them. I said, I just think something's wrong. I'm off in my training pattern, something I'm not making good dogs. And long story short, I started doing exactly what Danny stated. And I'm going to tell you, folks, I sat quiet at a dinner one night and listened to this man talk right here. And I probably said maybe 4 words to you all night, didn't I, Danny? In Orangeburg. We didn't
Yep.
talk a whole lot. We just done a whole lot of listening. But there was a lot of people at the table that knew dogs. And I took all that in. I listened to folks. And when you listen to folks, you can change what you do. And you can listen to folks like Mr. Perez here. And I'm going to tell you something. It changed not only me, but it changed my dogs. Just by that simple little thing of, hey, man, this is what I do. And I listened. And by listening, folks, it doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter. If you listen to folks like this, you'll learn something. Something I do different than you that I have never told anybody. Another reason why I like a rubber top bench is I'll put a dog on a rubber top bench, Megan, and I'll baby oil their feet.
So it's a similar tactic, but not.
Yeah,
But that's actually a good idea.
it
And I
and it
definitely
works.
want one of those rubber benches, because that's another way to prepare, because obviously you want to do some things before you go to these big time events, to be like, okay, we got that part under control as well, because it is a little bit different, a
Well,
lot different on
I
that
was
rubber top.
I was just talking to a fella, and I actually learned that through show hogs. This guy show hogs. And he was telling me that the hogs sometimes get spooked. And so what they do is they'll take and they'll put a little baby oil on their feet and they'll walk them on the concrete, really make them scatter. And I went,
Yeah.
again, me listening. When we're judging dogs on breed standards, how hard is it for a judge to learn each and every breed standard?
I to me, I think it's best to most every judge has their own dog. And there's a breed standard, obviously, right? So I truly believe if they take the breed standards and they study those breed standards and they put those breed standards against their own dogs, that that shows passion in your own judging. That shows passion. That shows that you want to, and you're going to want to pick the best dog out. And to me, your own dogs are the best, you know, you're doing the best critic on your own dogs, in my opinion. And I'll be the first one to say that I'm going to pick apart my own dogs before I pick apart anybody, because that's what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, Danny, when you're got a dog, and what's the typical age you're really starting to push a dog? I mean, you're really starting to think about hunts, etc.
Probably a little bit earlier than I should, to be honest. I had, I mean, my life revolves around hauling one to a hunt, you know? So, but I had one, not, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago, that I promise you, from 10 months old to a year and a half, she could have beat any big name dog in the country. I mean, and I held her back because that's what you're supposed to do, let them mature and not get them messed up in a hunt, uh, or burn out or whatever. And she got Ehrlichia, tick disease, and she still went on to do good things, but I lost my cool patience and I sold her. She was phenomenal, 10-month-old pup that you could turn loose by herself, tree one raccoon after another just as fast as anything you've ever seen, and did it all the time. And that was Maggie J. She's off Mr. J and a hickory nut hairy female. She was special, and that I would have done big things with her, but she got that tick disease, and she's still a good dog, but she lost that edge that made her extra special. So now, if I've got one that's doing pretty good, I'm hauling them, because you don't know how long you got with them. After I sold her, she went on to win Arkansas State, and she was. I think I looked at her some papers the other day, and she's like $19 away from being a gold champion. Why they didn't finish her to gold, I don't know, but she's still a good dog. But I just, man, when you see something like what you wait for your whole life type thing, and then it just goes away, it's just hard. So I sold her, and I shouldn't have. I should have kept her and raised splitters off of her and tried. I mean, I still would have won with her, but so, like, lady, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. I had her night champion at least by 15 months old, and then after that, I had her qualified for tournament champions, and I kind of slowed down with her. She's won a few night champion casts, and she's won, some PKC casts, but she's probably been in more than she should be. But like I said, you just never know.
Yeah.
You never know when they're gonna fall apart on you.
With Cheddar one night, he fell 30 something feet out of a tree. And he was prime example, like you're talking about, 11 months old, 12 months old. He's probably 12 months old. He was right at a year old, and here he is, prime of his life, just jamming it. And what does he do? Climbs a tree, falls out, fell on his side, broke all his ribs, messed his hip up. Prime example. You never know. You never know. When you want to roll with them, folks, if I mean, I know I'm one of the first to say, don't push them young. Don't push them young. But if you got one and you feel like they're clicking, just like Danny said, might as well go ahead and go on with it, because you never know, the days could be limited. We have Timer, and Timer has Ehrlichia. And Timer was a fine hound, done a lot of winning. But the problem is with Timer is he can have his good nights and he can have his bad nights now. And it's just that Ehrlichia and Lyme disease that does not play, and that's a serious problem in the coonhound world. And folks really need to pay attention to it, because I think it goes very overlooked. Man, my dog's missing. My dog's missing. I'm telling you, you better get it checked.
Yep. Yep, they can make a consistent dog inconsistent. You'll see glimpses of what they were. It's aggravating.
Yeah, that's what Dick Brothers was saying. He said, I got so disgusted. He said, Timer, that rascal, he'd go and win 3 and then wouldn't do nothing. That's part of it, unfortunately. If you're an up and comer and you're wanting to get into this sport, what is some things that you need to expect coming into the sport? Number one, as far as what do you need to learn before you jump in the ring with everybody?
Well, it's not going to be easy, just like everything in life, Jason. But it could be an amazing experience if you let it be. But you have to have the right mindset, and you have to be focused on the dogs. Literally, you have to be focused on your dogs. You have to be focused on your family. Um, and that's what I have to say. You will make friends, you really will, but at the end of the day, the dogs are the most important thing in this sport. I truly believe that. And there's sometimes in my life where I sat back and was like, I let that not be the focus. So it's very important that you want the dogs to be the first and foremost, the most important thing. So that's what I have to say about that. And if you don't think that is, if you're out for the glory and for winning every time or for the camaraderie, and I don't know that this is the sport for you. I mean, it truly is. You will make amazing friends along the way, I will say that, but the dogs have to come first.
And it takes time.
Yes, it does take time. You can't get frustrated, because you will get frustrated. Like I said before, there's definitely been times where I've been frustrated, and when I got a taste of that, that glory and that winning, uh, I would get frustrated again. And it's not necessarily frustrated at, my dogs or anything like that. It's just like, I still have to you have to sit back and say, okay, I just have to work harder. You just have to work harder. The harder you work and put you and your dog's teamwork first, you'll get there. You 110% will get there. And
Yeah.
again, you'll make a ton of friendships along the way if you have the right mindset and that it is a dog sport. It's a sport about animals.
And if you're going to start in this sport, and this is something I'll add to it, and whether you're hunting or whether you're showing, start with quality.
Mhm.
Start with quality, and do your
Yes.
research. I mean, whether it's blue ticks, black and tans, it does not matter, folks. Every breed has a coon hound in it. I promise you. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if you're getting into showing, you really need to look at the winning lines that are current right
Mhm.
now. You really
Mhm.
better look at them. Number two, if you want to get into hunting, you better do your research on lines again, because there's some
Mhm.
lines out there right now, and I won't say no names, but that are just marketable lines, is all I'm saying. A lot of these lines are paid for. Uh,
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say, Jason, it may not come cheap at first. And some
right.
people, they just want to be like, "Oh, that's only 150 or that's only 300." Guys, I'm telling you, most of the time you get what you pay for, but you have to do your research too. So I agree with you. I agree with you, because then people, might get this $100 dog or this $150 dog. Well, I'm gonna be real honest with you. If you get one that's that kind of quality at that price, you are one lucky fella.
Send me to that barn.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, Danny, something I really want to talk to you about, and I know this needs to be talked about because I listen to a lot of feedback on things, and if there's one thing I don't hear a whole lot of feedback is people giving true advice on what to do when you're starting to get into competition hunting.
My advice would be introduce yourself to somebody that is known for being good at it and spectate. Get them rule books, learn them rules, and just get out there and learn doing it. That's what I did. I mean, heck, I thought I knew rules because that's the way they did it around here. That wasn't even a rule, you know. So you gotta get in that rule book and learn it. Heck, whenever the rules changed back in, I don't know if it was whenever it was, I was at the Winter Classic and Alan was giving a rundown of the kind of the new rules and stuff, and he said something, and I thought that ain't right. So I went up to him after he's done talking and questioned him, and he goes, "No, it's been like that forever." I was like, "Well, around my house, we've been doing it wrong for as long as I can remember, you know, like since the '90s." So yeah, you learn them rules. You know, learn the dog. You know, it takes. I'm not like one of these guys that can just take a dog and hunt it one time and go win with it. I got to know that dog, and it takes me a long time to get real comfortable with one. Um, I've had a
That's
few that were just that anybody could do, you know, but uh, what?
that's right. We know that. You could take
Go away.
midget and just win with her.
Oh, shit. Anyway, my advice would be learn the rules, spectate a few times, and just get in there and get after it, you know.
And you know something, Danny, I think that goes, I think misread or misunderstood sometimes is how important it is to really know your dog's mouth.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know that
You're responsible to know your dog. Nobody else is supposed to, you know, a good judge. Now, I'm not saying I could call everybody's dog, but I know everybody's dog in the first 15 minutes of a hunt. I'll know everybody's mouth, you know, and a lot of times I'll kind of know what the dogs are doing too. But as far as me to, you know, when I was talking about knowing a dog, I'm talking like I know what they're going to do before they do it type know them, you know. I'm not talking about just going out there and winging it. But yeah, knowing your dog's mouth is real important. And that's, you know, I like a big mouth or distinct mouth. I've had trouble through the years with dogs that had a mouth like a lot of dogs. You know what I mean? Picking them out. But uh, these J dogs are pretty easy to pick out. They got a certain little different tone to them, and they're loud.
Tell me a little
Uh,
bit about these J dogs, if you don't mind. I really want to know this line.
well, Jay himself was he was out of Mr. Jack, which around these parts, Jack was a well-known dog, and you know, everybody knew who Jack was, and people are still following that line. You know, your Overdrive, your Drive Line, all those dogs, they will go back to Mr. Jack. And old Overdrive and Mr. J himself were three-quarter brothers. They had the same mother. Uh, Jay was directly out of Mr. Jack, and Overdrive was out of Line Drive, which was out of Mr. Jack. So they're three-quarter brothers. But that whole line is just really natural, real easy. Make guys look like they're good trainers, and you're not. It's just a real natural. It's in their genes. Special mouths. Real Jay in particular, that line of dogs are real good locates, like the ones everybody likes to hear. You know, that's just they've been good to me. I wanted Jay way. You know, he was a puppy. The kids around here had him, and I was hunting Smoky River Crank blue tick, and every time I didn't really know this kid, but the guy that I hunted with all the time, Pat Keller, which is older than me. I hunted with Pat since I was a teenager. You know, we that's who I learned a lot from. You know, but anyway, this kid show up with this pup, and that pup would just man, there's something about him. You know, it's like he has the tools, and I tried to get him, I couldn't get him, um, and luckily that boy he needed money for an engagement ring, so he hit me up and I got him bought. It took a little bit. He wanted too much for him. He had him messed up. The dog was, Jay was like one of them naturally independent types. And he had some stuff going on when I tried him that he wouldn't, if another dog treated with him, he wouldn't bark. And I thought, well, heck, I can't do nothing with this. And a couple weeks went by and he dropped the price in half and I just bought him because when I hunted him by himself, he was amazing. I mean, really, really, probably one of the most accurate dogs to ever live in the history of coonhounds. I know it sounds like bull, but the dog didn't miss. Maybe I'm talking all year long, every weather condition. I could maybe count 5 trees a year that I couldn't find a coon in. I mean,
Wow.
and he was a one bark tree dog, so I never could figure that part out. You could tree him when he started his locate, but his locate was big and long and had a big train whistle at the end of it. But he's reproduced, and his offspring are reproducing, and I'm still seeing the benefits of it. Everything I'm hunting right now is out of J Boy, which is directly off of J, and them pups are just natural. J Boy's first litter was out of a wipeout female, and one of them won the baby stakes last year. And then there's 3 night champions out of the first 3 litters. They're all just barely over 2 years old now. I started 4 of them out of 3 different females. And Lady, Megan picked Lady. I didn't want a female, but
Lady J.
I'm glad she picked her. We got in a big fight about that, but long story short, I have Lady and all the boys are gone, but then they're all good. Hell, the other last Thursday night we went to the PKC hunt at our club, and they were there with the dog I called Clovis. They changed his name to Cletus. They didn't like Clovis, and man, that's a big, good-looking son of a gun. He ended up winning that night. Kind of wish I'd have kept him just because he's 90 pounds with a big block head and looks like a hound's supposed to look, But we didn't hunt because, well, my female's in heat, and Megan brought Midget in case we needed to fill in, but they had 4 dogs, but a J dog won. So they're just a real natural bloodline. I mean, all the way back to Mr. Jack himself, but I kind of keyed in off of Jay and kind of took it that direction. So I
Now,
like them.
how many years would you say, Danny, it has taken you to get where you are now?
All my life.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ask Megan, I'm a know-it-all, but I'm always paying attention, always trying to learn. I do know quite a bit though. So, but yeah, I mean, I still haven't gotten where I want to be. I'm still trying, still grinding. I need one. I've had some dogs that I could have done what I want to do now, and I just didn't do it back then. I didn't go, I'm also tighter than bark on a tree. So I just, I think most of my life I had more fun getting dogs ready for a hunt than actually going to the hunt, and now I'm at that stage where, man, all this work I've spent my whole life doing, I'm ready to win the big one, so as long as my body holds out, I'm going to keep trying to do something big,
I like it, man. That's dedication though, I mean, and that shows the time you've put in, the hard work you've put in, and now it's time. And then now you want to do it. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
That's following a dream.
Yeah. Well, I realize what I've had, and if I could just have one more, them type of dogs, another Mr. J, another Maggie. Even I had the one out of Lipper's Stylish Rank that he was awesome. Now, he was just like Jay. He never missed. The only difference in him and Jay is if Hank, rather Rank, smelled a female coming in heat, he'd miss everything that night. The first time he ever missed, I couldn't figure it out because the dog did not miss. And I come home and I got my old blue female, Betty, which is top notch. And I sent them together and they split trees. She had a coon and he was another circle tree. And that's another thing I learned about with Mr. J. The coons are a lot easier to find when they're there. I stopped making excuses for my dogs.
Mm-hmm.
He just showed them to you. You need to be true to yourself. I'm looking at you, Megan.
No, you need to be true to yourself after our last conversation.
Anyway,
what was the last conversation?
So when he comes home, sometimes he'll be like, Coon, slick, and then later on he'll be like, oh, well, I'll say, well, you've been complaining because of these slicks, and he'll be like, well, technically they were circles. I'm like, that's not what you told me.
Well, if I don't see them, they're slick. I mean, that's just what I call it when I come home and I'm aggravated. I didn't tree enough coons. In a hunt, they'd have been circled. That's just is what it is. I mean, some of them may have coons, but I'm going to say most of them don't. When I call it slick, it's probably slick. Whether there's leaves, whatever. I mean, that's what I feel like I brought from Jay. And Jay was a different style. I don't know. you could almost call him an ambush dog that could lay up a coon. I don't know. He was just amazing. He would pick his track that would have a coon at the end of it, and if he treated in, the coon was on the outside. So I don't know. When I realized he was super special, I'd had him a whole winter kill season. And the last night of season, he treated den tree, and it dawned on me. That's the first den tree. That's the first tree I haven't found a coon in all winter. Well, then I kept track of them, and it was 9 months before I went to a tree that I didn't find the coon in, and that was probably because I was too lazy to climb up the ridge and see the other side of the tree. I had enough faith in him that I was okay with it. You know, it was hot summertime, and I didn't want to climb that ridge to check the whole tree out, and it wasn't a hunt. So hard telling if I'd have really looked, and that was before thermals and everything. You know,
Danny, how rare is that, brother? How rare is
it
that?
is. It's well, I would like one more. I've only had one. I mean, and I'm talking. I always hunt an accurate dog, what most people would consider accurate. And I'm talking 90%. That's, you know, for every 10 trees, you're circling or minusing something. You know, being honest. You know, most people would settle with 75%. I get plumb aggravated when I'm not seeing coons. I mean, it'll ruin my night, my next day. I overthink. You know, like, how am I going to fix this? What do I got to do? Do I lay them up? Do I hunt them harder? Do I whip them? What do I do? You know, I just, and every dog's different. You know, some of them need the tar whipped out of them, and some of them just need a good talking to.
That's
You
right.
It's
know,
very rare. Very rare. You don't find
yeah.
it at all.
Yeah.
I have had two, and that was the rank dog. He only lasted me 6 months, and he got pneumonia, and I gave him his medicine, and on the last day of his medicine, I was young and dumb. Uh, I thought, well, he should be good to go. It was the last night of coon season, and he went out and put on a show. And the next day, he was deader than a hammer in the doghouse. So, lesson learned. You know, you don't just go hunting just because they took all their medicine. You take them back to the vet and have them check them out. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Hate to hear that, brother. Daggone. Megan,
He was so.
you know, I want to ask you something, Megan. You
Mhm.
have really done some winning over the years. You really have. Um, what has been some of your favorite dogs? And then what is some memories over the years that you'll never forget?
So Wonder Boy, South Fork River Wonder Boy is a huge one. And that's one dog. I mean, I'm glad he ended up where he ended up, because then I wouldn't have had the next dog I'm about to tell you about. Um, I tried so hard to buy that dog, and Leslie Brooks just wouldn't cave. And then I don't know what made her cave, but she caved, and I bought him, and I put as much work in as I could. And we went on and won Autumn Oaks with. And then, unfortunate circumstances, I did have to part with that dog. But again, everything happens for a reason, because him and Barbie, she was another one that I tried to uh, purchase for a long time, and that would have been from your mother. And finally got my hands on her, and again, it was around the same time, so fortunate circumstances, I had to part with her too. And they ended up in the same home, and a litter came of that. And I do believe that Barbie could have done so much more. So but she definitely did a lot in the reproductive part of it, because she and Wonder Boy gave me Girl, and All American Dream Girl, and she gave me the 2020 World Champion title. Well, she got that title, and that was
Ah, it's a
amazing.
team.
Uh,
It's a team.
it definitely is, and Danny and I talk about that often, because it does take a lot of work, and then you wonder if somebody else, or you know what I mean, like how, because I can't even explain how much work I did with that dog before we even got to best of show at Illinois State when she was a little over a year old. So I mean, a lot. of work. But she was extremely special to me, and there was absolutely no way that I was going to let any circumstance after what happened before allow her to leave me. So, I mean, and unfortunately, cancer, she ended up leaving me because of cancer. But I love that dog. Absolutely love that dog. And yeah, she was the best in my opinion.
Yeah, that's cool. What made her the best to you?
She loved what she did. She understood me. She understood what I wanted. Maybe not sometimes at home because we would have that love-hate relationship that actually her mother Barbie and I had at times. Not in the show ring, but well, sometimes on the show ring because she liked to look high. As everybody probably seen at the 2020 World Show, where I was getting very frustrated at her trying to look straight up at the sky. But
Handler error.
huh?
Handler error.
Whatever, you knew what she was doing. She did it
She
all the
did
time.
no wrong. That dog did no wrong. That was your fault.
No, I love that dog. And actually, to talk about Jay, Danny actually wanted to breed her to Mr. J, and I'll tell you what, Jason, that is probably a regret
Really?
that I would have liked to have bred her to Mr. J.
I would have.
Why are you looking like that, Danny?
That was
You
you
don't
wanting a
want to
piece of
be
my. That was you wanting a piece of my stuff.
Oh, you
You
actually
want
wanted
my
it, and I was
stuff.
actually hesitant.
You know, speaking of dogs, real quick, this Lady J dog you have, not only is she making you a pretty solid coon dog, Danny, but this little female, she looks the part too. I mean,
Oh
confirmation.
yeah,
She's put together.
yeah.
I was really impressed. I just want to say that up front.
You saw me beat Megan on Facebook, didn't you?
I did
Whatever.
live.
Midget's still gonna beat you at the duels at Oaks.
She got to get through me in the hunt first. You want to start a fight?
So y'all met 11 years ago.
Hey, it's
All
gonna
right.
work out just like that fishing tournament that we had, yesterday? Who won?
You did.
The most and the biggest.
Yeah, because I went back to the truck. I lost my good lure. I was just done. I was picking up your trash that you're leaving around.
That's part of it. You started that tournament. You started it.
I know. I had to make you feel really happy. Hey, last time I beat you. I did.
How in the world do y'all keep up after 11 years? How do y'all keep up this camaraderie here?
Yeah.
Plum honoring this.
He's worse than I am.
Yeah, so I think he balances you out, Megan.
Oh, he definitely does.
Yeah.
Jason, we're totally opposite, but it works out pretty good.
Yeah, it seems like it does. For 11 years, it's doing all right. Well, what's easier to train, the dog or Megan, Danny?
Oh Lord, ain't no training Megan. She's stubborn. I wish I'd like to shock her.
Whatever.
It'd be fun to watch.
You like one of them dancing chickens?
Mm-hmm.
What's that song? What's that song that you actually didn't even like and you just actually said something about it? The coon hunting song? You took I got the CD, but you took it out of your truck. And now I don't have a CD player in here. Huh?
That was annoying.
Why? Because I played it all the time?
Where the woman starts talking, get that dang coon out. That one?
Yeah.
And sport in general. What is something that's changed the most? Danny, I'll start with you.
I think people do it for different reasons than they used to. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong or whatever. It's just the whole atmosphere is a lot different. When I was young, you went to a hunt early for camaraderie and to visit, and just more or less everybody want to talk about their dogs. You know what I mean? And now, and I'm guilty too. I'm there right before deadline. I'm all business, and I don't know if that's just because life has got a lot busier now that you're older versus when I was a young man. Um, but that's the biggest thing. It's it's more of a business now than it was a hobby. For a lot of people. Uh, Me, it's not a business or a hobby. It's my life. It's a way of life. So I'm just as competitive and want it just as bad as those guys that want to win all the money. But there's difference in me is like I'm kind of true to as small of a line as it is what I consider my line. Anything that goes back to Jay when I'm trying to preserve and keep his blood around. And I did a horrible job with Betty. She's probably one of the better blue ticks to ever live. And I was just young and could have done so much more with her, and she still wound up in the Hall of Fame. But yeah, I just think the atmosphere's changed. The reason people do it is different. It's not. And coon hides, I mean, that don't even exist anymore.
No,
So
I
when I
stole
was
this
young,
one.
well, I can follow the buzzards. You can find a bunch where I hunt, but they ain't worth nothing. But I remember going with older guys, old timers when I was a kid, and just being ate up with it and just listening to everything they had to say. And I realized now they really didn't know much. They just went out there and had fun.
And they pack hunted a lot, Danny,
That's huge. That's like, and that's one thing I've noticed about dogs. Uh, I think dogs are better now than they used to be, only for the simple fact that I think on average, more dogs treat more raccoons than they did, say, 15 years ago. I think they're a lot more accurate. And they're bred, everybody's breeding them so independent. I think there's some quirkiness that comes with that. Dogs just do things that you wish they would. Man, why didn't you just stay? They got covered. If they'd have stayed, they would have won the hunt. Or if they'd have got a piece of it, they'd have won. You don't see that. You see the dead and lonely. Uh, and I think dogs aren't as starchy as they used to be, which might be a good thing. But I was listening to somebody talk about might have been on a podcast that they don't have the dominant dogs anymore. And I think what that means is, when you're treed, you're staying treed. You're not going to get buffaloed off the tree if you gotta bite, fight, whatever. You're staying. You don't see as much of that anymore, but I think that comes from the independence that's been bred into them. I think they're actually an inferior type of, as far as like looking at things from, say, like a masculine tough perspective. I think they're actually a little inferior and
a little soft.
intimidated. That's why they want to be alone, which I like. That's how I like it. I don't want to be a handler. I just want to treat my dog. But I think that's what I've seen change. Good, bad, indifferent. That's the way it's went.
I like it. Miss Perez, please.
So, in my opinion, I think that, I've seen such a decline in a lot of the local events, the state events, even some of the bigger events at times. I think a lot of the people are out more for competing against each other. And I think what a lot of people fail to realize that we should, um, you know, we all should be a team. We don't have to be best, friends with everybody. We don't have to like each other's preferences of dogs or each other's dogs personally. We don't have to talk about that. But what we do have to do is we all have to be basically positive with each other and good with each other, because that and the incoming, the newcomers, that's the only way that we're going to be able to grow our sport and get it back up to where it once was, and even more. I that's how I feel. And I do see a lot. I don't know, I feel like some of the hunting part of it is growing a little bit, and then I feel like some of the showing kind of is declining, but not everywhere. But especially at the local events, because there's times where you go and there's maybe only one dog at the show,
Or
and
none.
that's that. and that's huge to me because that's my childhood memories. Like my dad actually, helped build the local coon hunt, and we used to have, you know, little cookouts, once a month, and we'd take care of the local coon club, and we'd always pull a probably as big as our state events now bench show. So I just think that a lot of people need to understand that we don't all have to have the same views of everything, but we all have to work together because we're all in the same sport. And I think that can help us grow.
And the youth, folks, the youth.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to keep
Mm-hmm.
the youth involved. And, I'm a big advocate. I've
Agree.
been bringing a lot of youth into it, and I have them on the pro team and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
folks, you have to get the youth involved. And when
Yes.
I just had someone, and I'm not going to state any names, and I'm going to short story it. It was a young man showing a dog, and this judge walked up to this young man showing the dog and said, "You're not going to win today because you don't bring a coon dog to a show ring."
Well, I'm going to make a short story short because I was at a bench show not that long ago, and the judge, I actually showed against this youth, and she picked the youth's dog. However, she said to that youth, "You weren't the best handler today." Jason, it matters so much what you say. I mean, because that child just won, and you literally just took that win right away from that kid, um, just by what came out of your mouth. You don't have to say what, you know what I mean? You don't have to say that because they watch us. They look up to us. They look at all of us that are out there winning. And there's a lot of us, and this as well as I do. There is a lot of negativity and more competitive for the, I guess, the limelight, I would say, than like working your butt off to keep these dogs in shape and be like, oh man, this means so much. Not going into it like, I expect this. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
These kids are watching us. Even the new people who don't know anything about it, they're watching us. You know what I mean?
When people are watching is when you really, really better be on point and show people what you're supposed to be all about.
Exactly.
And I've had folks question me about losses and stuff like that. And the only thing I'm good about is just being honest. Whether that offends people or not, I'm sorry. But if I don't agree with the call, I'm going to be honest, because at the end of the
Yes.
day, you and I have spoke many times. Confirmation, confirmation, confirmation. Don't beat me with a name. Don't beat that kid out there with a name. Beat me with a
Yep.
good dog. Beat me with a
Yep.
dog that deserves it. And you fell victim for that. I'm sure Danny over the years has fell victim to that. We've all fell victim to it. But if we don't
I
talk
have
about it, we can't make it better.
I have definitely have maybe voiced my opinion in the wrong way. And sometimes we have to learn to voice it in the right way to the right people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm guilty of that. I am. And I want to admit that right off the bat. But I truly
You
believe
want to
that
apologize to anybody? Would you like to make a public apology, maybe?
I mean, I just said what I said, so I feel like, you know what I mean? Like I do feel like that says a lot. And
I'm joking.
no, there's really nobody there's nobody I want to apologize. I already apologized to who I wanted to apologize. Now, if you're talking about in the hunts, yes, I will apologize to Donald Perkins and that crew. I will. I will, because that is one night that I felt like that wasn't right. But everybody else I've apologized to, but I think
I
we're
was
good.
just joking. You didn't have to start pretending it was real.
I mean,
Hey,
it
I'm going
wasn't
to
that.
lose you in
Jason,
about,
Hey,
I'm going to,
I'm just gonna throw this out there. It wasn't that bad. I was just already on the defense, and
hey,
I
it
was like,
happens.
she's
you
a fierce competitor. You don't want to draw her. She's
I,
fierce.
no, I've had to show against her and I've looked her in the eyes and I'm like, oh, dear Lord.
I only have puppies now. You don't have to worry about me right now.
I'm still worrying because I know what you got coming.
Whatever.
Say
And
to
you
you,
have
but
one phenomenal female. You guys have one phenomenal female. I can tell you that.
Well, thank you so much. It was an honor showing under you. It really was. It was fun. I've only done it twice over the years and have had the opportunity to show under you. And Miss Stella, she is a dream come true. And I really
I
feel
told Danny, once you put your hands on her, it's not just what you see, it's what you feel.
she's amazing. She really is, and I feel like she's the best I've ever put my hands on, and I say that being honest. I don't say that being cocky at all. And she's been picked and she's not been picked, and you're going to get beat and you're going to win.
Oh
At the
yeah.
end of the
You
day,
got
you got to be thankful for what you got.
yeah.
20
Yes.
plus years of breeding, folks. That's what it took to get Stella.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's
She's
just like you guys, Danny, what you've accomplished over the years, Megan, what you've accomplished over the years. It is over years. This is accumulated.
mm-hmm,
This does not happen like that, folks. This isn't that kind of
mm-hmm.
sport. And if you want to gain the respect of your peers, you do it by grinding and showing everybody what you're made of.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
can't quit. I mean, you just can't. And you
no,
can't expect it to come easy either. You really
no,
can't.
no, not absolutely not. Danny, is there anything else you'd like to put in, brother?
Well, about the youth, I'm horrible with kids, I admit it. But if every coon hunter would try to just get one kid, if every single coon hunter that existed got one kid going, that's enough. That would keep it going. I'm just going to go ahead and take credit for Sean Sarver. So my part's done. You guys get to work.
Good deal. I like it. Miss Megan.
That's my nephew. No, I just
Take credit.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you putting you know, talking to multiple different people, putting different point of views out there, putting any kind of awareness out there. You're great, and I do want to tell you, I know you have surgery coming up, and I want to say that we're thinking about you, we're praying for you, so I wish you the best of luck and
Thank
hope you
you.
recover very fast from that.
Well, thank you guys so much. And I just want to say, folks, I respect this couple, not only as a team, but as who they are. Danny's always been polite. Danny's quiet. If you ever walk up to him and hunt, you'll kind of be standoffish, and he's not. He's a good man. And I'll tell you, Danny, I respect you as a houndsman and as a person. And I want to thank you for always being a gentleman to me. And Megan,
Thank
same to
you.
you. You have
Thank
been
you.
just you've been a staple of the sport for many years, Megan. Many years, and I've respected you, and you've been a fierce, as Danny says, fierce competitor. But it's always an
I mean, I
honor.
appreciate that, but you and your family have been too. I
Well,
mean,
You
thank
don't
you.
want no
as
part of
well.
her with a light on her head.
Withdrawing. Pre-warned.
So he's so full of it. I mean, no. That
No,
I can say, but I'll keep it quiet.
yeah, well, we'll save it for another show. How about that?
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much. It was an honor having you on. This is Jason Wayne Hunter from Hunters Wheelhouse. God bless. I just can't thank you enough. Danny, thank you so much, brother.
Thank you,
Thank
man.
you.
Appreciate you.
It was indeed a privilege to welcome Megan and Danny Perez to Hunters Wheelhouse. Their expertise and authenticity set them apart in both the show and hunting spheres. If you're seeking advice regarding hunting or show dogs, do not hesitate to reach out to them. We're grateful for their valuable insights and contributions. Stay tuned to Hunters Wheelhouse for more exciting events and special guests. God bless. This is Jason Wayne Hunter.